Hey, welcome back to your Diamond Mentor Moment. This is Janine, your intercultural creativity speaker, neurosomatic creativity, prismatic leadership keynote speaker, and I'm excited to be back with you. I'm trying to do these at least once a month on Wednesdays, just giving you a tidbit, a Diamond Mentor tip on how to be more creative and how to connect culturally. So today we are talking about frames, right? Frames. What does this mean psychologically, creatively, and interculturally as well? What does it mean to be aware of their frames that you're living in and know how they affect your decision making abilities and your leadership? So, how do you move outside your frame and what does that do to increase creativity? So, first of all, creativity is key. If you look at, let me show you the list for the World Economic Forum. They listed it as number two. I think it's number one, but they listed it as number two right under analytical thinking. But look at all the other skills and abilities that the World Economic Forum is listing as some of the top skills needed in the workforce for 2023. Resilience, flexibility, agility, cognitive agility, motivation and self-awareness, curiosity, lifelong learning. Number seven, dependability, attention to detail, leadership, social influence. And these are the skills that are internal. So what does that mean and how do frames affect them? First of all, what are frames? I was going through pictures for some projects that I was working with and with our design team, and I came across this picture. My son, back when he was, I think, one or maybe a little bit shy than one, we were in North Carolina with his family, and they had this frame around their garage, and I pulled it out, and it shows just how we live in frames. I'm in the middle of the frame, and metaphorically speaking, what does that look like? So first of all, you have frames. You have a frame for life. You have a frame for situations. Here's an example. When you walk into the gym, right? You have a frame for the expectations for that area. If I go into the gym and start singing loudly with a microphone, right? That would throw you off. As well as when you walk into an elevator, you have a set of expectations, a set of rules, like unspoken rules for that space. If I go into an elevator and start doing jumping jacks, that would throw you off. You would be like, whoa, it would jar you into paying more attention and to being curious about what's motivating my behavior, because my behavior is not in alignment with that frame that your brain has situated for that particular environment. You go into a gym, you start doing jumping jacks, perfect. You go into a karaoke place, you start singing loudly with the mic in your hand, perfect, because those are the frames that you set for that environment. We creatively need to learn how to not break our frames, but be aware of our frames and be able to shift our frames. What does that look like as a leader, to be able to shift our frames and to understand that other people may have different frames for the same environment as us? Let me go back to this PowerPoint and talk about the frame. So I am a big on reading. I'm big on seeing other people's perspective about different types of areas. And I first of all want to quote one of my mentors, a great creativity speaker by the name of Duncan Wardle. And he talks about having people in your ideation sessions that are about just naive experts, right? Meaning they're experts in their field, but they're not experts in your field. What does that do for the conversation? Here's an example of what he's talking about. This is from the book Think Bigger by Sheena Iyengar. She's a wonderful creativity speaker, and she talks a lot about innovation and creativity and the Think Bigger model. And she says, experts and users are inside the problem. Everyone else is outside of it. People without direct experience in the field will have open minds about it. Experience gives you depth, but limits your breadth. Outsiders have less depth, but more breadth. They don't let their knowledge limit their thinking. So when you have everyone in your ideation group who are all deep in your discipline, right? They're all engineers and have been trained like an engineer to think like an engineer. That's all they'll do is think like an engineer. But if you have someone coming in from a different discipline that are just observing, asking questions, wondering why things are a certain way that they are, it'll jar your group into thinking in a new way. They're not familiar with the frames that everyone else may have going into that ideation session. They also might be able to ask questions that other people may not want to ask. So be aware of that. And one way that you can break your frame, or not break your frame. I keep saying that. My teacher says we shouldn't break frames. We should put them aside or be aware of them and then know how to move them. So I do like that because breaking may be kind of a violent language. But you can put yourself in different scenarios that you are not aware of. We always talk about having new experiences or going through the same experiences that you would go through in your life in a different area. So, you eat, you cook, but doing it in a different way, in a different environment. For instance, I am a keynote speaker and I typically have an agnostic topic. Creativity can be found in all fields. So I find myself in different disciplines. When I go keynote speak, I just don't go on stage, speak, and then run off and get on a plane. I actually stay, and I stay for a particular reason. Number one, these conferences are charging a lot of money for these people to come and learn. I'm there. They're paying me to be there in most cases. So I might as well just learn for free and get a perspective in a discipline that I'm not normally just around. So for instance, I was a speaker at a radiology conference and I stayed in some sessions, AI and in fMRI technology and what's going on in the world of radiology. And I'm around people who are in this field and this is their frame. This is not my frame. I'm an educator by trade. So this is all new to me. And I'm thinking, I'm making connections and I'm seeing how they're doing this particular thing and how my field would do it differently. I was a keynote at a beauty conference and a keynote in the finance and doing workshops over in education and pharmaceutical companies. I'm just in all these different disciplines, but I'm paying attention to how their processes are, how their systems are. I'm metaphorically making those connections because I'm in a new frame. I'm in a new way of thinking, a new discipline. So that reminds me of the quote from the great book, The Medici Effect, the book is called The Medici Effect by Francis Johansson. And he said, innovation lies at the intersection of fields, disciplines, and cultures. So people who can move out of their frame, their routine, their way of doing things and see how other people are doing things. They're on that boundary line. Those are your highly creative thinkers. Here's another book I love called Leading in a Nonlinear World by Gene Combs. And chapter 6 is all about the frames we hold. This is a wonderful chapter. And he says, because our brains crave stability, we often see that what we want to see when we might need to let in the unforeseen and unwelcome. Building a mindset challenges us to question the reliability of what we see and therefore what we know. Seeing intentionally means harnessing our metacognition, big word, means thinking about your thinking, to stand back and consider the frames or the lenses we hold up to the world and ask what they allow us to discern, disregard, or discount. So how do we break those frames? Get into new situations, get around people with different lived experiences, submerge yourself in new cultural situations. I have one of my mentors who I have like several of his books, Dr. David Eagleman. He talks about a mentor who did that. And I want you to hear directly from Dr. David Eagleman.
The world is changing so fast that it's really unlikely that anybody's automatized way of doing things is going to last very long.
Yeah.
The tools, the techniques, the methods, the theories, all of these things are changing out from under us quickly. And so the people who are the best at what they do across fields are those people. One of my mentors when I was in postdoc was Francis Crick, who's the co-discoverer of
How
DNA.
lucky are you?
It was terrific. It was such an opportunity.
Oh my God.
But even at the age of 86, which is when he died, he loved new ideas. He was thrilled with any idea that broke his frameworks, that shook him off the path of least resistance. Those are the people that are that last in any field, because they're seeking actively not the data that confirms their biases, but that disrupts it.
Right. They're seeking actively not the data that confirms their biases. We all have biases. We all have assumptions. If you have a brain, you have a bias, per Matthew Cahill. But they're actively seeking situations that may disrupt their assumptions, and they're aware that they even have assumptions and that they're not objective, they're subjective to their personal experience. So this is really important with intercultural connections, creativity, team cohesion, building trust, and just being more creative. How do you intentionally break your frame or move your frame out the way and get into new frames? So important. So that is basically the Diamond Mentor moment of today. I'll be speaking in September at the Women in Electronics Summit. At the end of September, the Women in School Leadership Conference, ACSA. I'm their opening keynote speaker. And then I'm speaking at the Women in Medicine Summit in Chicago, September 23rd. So see how I'm in different disciplines talking about creative thinking, and I'll be learning from them as well. And if you're looking to be a prismatic leader and drawing out the colorful gifts and talents of yourself and others, get into situations that help you challenge your frames. So we'll be ending with the new book release. Don't forget, Your Brain, Your Beautiful Brain, found on JanineLetford.com or CAFFE Strategies. We had a great book signing at Barnes & Noble. And we also have I Am Creative, along with my books. If you want to learn more about intercultural creativity and how to get in new situations that help you connect across cultural lines to be more creative, you can get the 7 Gems of Intercultural Creativity. And if you're in education or you're a parent, you can get the Future Classroom of Intercultural Creativity, building students who connect and create together. Thank you so much for being with this Diamond Mentor moment. I hope you get out there, get some new frameworks, disrupt your assumptions, and learn how to be creative. We will see you next time on your Diamond Mentor moment. All right. Bye-bye.